Okay. Aristo, good afternoon.
Good morning, Ron. How are you today?
I'm okay. I do want to say at the front here that we're having some interference that we can't seem to get to the bottom of, but we're going to go ahead with the recording anyway.
Yeah, there's technical difficulties. I had to change computers several times to, cut out the background noise so people aren't screaming behind me. But this is the best we can do for today. So please save your negative comments, knowing that we have done our best. Now, let's get to the topic. Today, I would like to say that now is the time to create your own reality. There's been a lot of talk about religion. There's been a lot of talk, on your Facebook page and your previous videos about Gnosticism and stuff like that, and political systems and people getting along and ideologies. And there have also been some interesting references. There's the feedback here is the weird background noise. It's like some weird bottom feeder crawling under in the sewer trying to come up through the headphones. But please bear with it. I think the voice can still come through. But my point is that there have also been conversations about the essence of the situation. We are not dealing with religions these days. We're not dealing with political systems. Those are externals. We're dealing with psychopathy. We're dealing with control dynamics. We're dealing with our own conditioning. We're dealing with collective trauma. So our big challenge, and we notice that those who are trying to control us are they're taking steps to basically psychologically manipulate. They're trying to control us psychologically. Whereas they keep threatening us physically, their main modus operandi is psychological control. We've talked about this in these videos, and you've talked about it, and others have talked about it as well. Basically, it's paradigm control. It's, some people call it templates or scripting, script control. It's reality control. Somebody out there, or many somebodies, and some people say, well, there's a spiritual root, or maybe it's just people who are crazy, or this, that, psychology. It doesn't matter. What matters is that there are those who are out to control our sense of reality as the most important thing in order to get us into a position where they can make their plans come true. Right now, logic would tell us that they can just press any button they want, do whatever they want, make their plans come true. Yet something keeps getting in their way. We can rationalize this. We can say, okay, there are factions that are fighting with each other. But the factions, whatever might go on up to this point, have been in agreement and have had their chess games and have had their negotiations. Regardless, for these factions, the prime directive is for the people to be under control, whether it's benign or malevolent or whatever. Basically, these factions cannot release their ideas of hierarchical structure. You've talked about hierarchical structure. Now, for me, heaven and the underworld and all of that are essentially organic. I believe that it's humans who have imposed this ideology of hierarchy on this. I don't believe the universe functions as a pyramid. I believe it functions as a sphere. There's a central principle, and this central principle is holographic, and for me it's the sphere in various manifestations. It's like the human body. There's a little anecdote about the human body where all the organs would have an argument about who was the most supreme. The brain would come up and say, well, of course I'm the most supreme, I call the shots. But the lungs said, well, if I stop, you're gonna, choke to death. And the stomach said, if I just close up, then you're gonna starve to death. And finally, down below, the anus said, I may be just an asshole, but, you guys are bothering my rest here. So if I close up, let's see what's gonna happen. So even the lowest point of the body, what everybody calls the asshole and derogatory and all of that, if it ceases to function, the rest just collapses in a very bad way. So it isn't like there isn't anything expendable in the human body amongst the major so-called organs from top to bottom. You cannot say the top is superior to the bottom or the bottom superior to the top. I know there are certain transhumanist crazies that want to, say, okay, let's just cut our heads off, put them in a pickle jar, and, we can live in a virtual reality. that's a con job for the rest of them. Basically, the last one standing is going to have everybody else decapitated, and they're just going to laugh. The whole point is that hierarchies are very ambiguous in terms of their natural representation. I mean, even a beehive isn't really a hierarchy. The queen bee sits there and reproduces and has to do all kinds of things and work harder than even the other workers in order for the hive to stay together. The same thing with an anthill, and those are more like organisms, where all of the workers are basically a single entity that's interconnected. It's a whole different scenario and very specialized. However, there is no one single queen bee saying, okay, I've taken over and you're all my slaves. No, they're her children, they're the extensions of herself. You know, whereas the hierarchies of our political systems and our royalty systems and all of that are, I am a different bloodline. I am practically a different species. I am practically a god, you're all other. So even if they pretend they're promoting a kind of hive mind thing, it's bullshit. The point is that we are the ones who are defining the paradigm now. And why? Well, an interesting thing has happened. If you notice, a movie came out years ago called Secret, and it was promoting that you create your own reality thing. Now, it's funny that The Secret came out at a certain time, because reality promotion, according to some channelers especially, but I believe this as well, is inhibited by the collective state of affairs. If the collective is very rigid, then the individual has a hard time, you know, changing the reality outside of certain confines. So, however, when you move through an age transition, things become flexible. You're in a state like you're shifting gears. So for a while, the collective is in neutral. And because it's in neutral, it's moving at the momentum of its previous velocity, right? You shift a car, you change gear, and you change gear in order to change your speed. But before you move into the next gear, you're still going on the momentum of your previous existing speed. So that's the way. And however, if you change your gear, you choose which gear to put. There's an appropriate gear, an inappropriate gear, or whatever. Now bear with me here, because this is how reality creation is. What I'm trying to say is that between the ages, in short windows usually, but the windows depend on the state of the collective itself. I mean, you can drag out the velocity until the car stops, or whatever. It's not like, oh, we have 5 years or 10 years or 20 years. It's really an indefinite period, because just as time was accelerating up until 2012, according to Carl Kalaman's information, basically more things were happening in a shorter amount of time. Right now, we're having the opposite effect. Things are almost at a standstill. You're wondering, well, the same threats are being jiggled out, the same wars are being promoted. People used to talk about all these transformations, and now it seems like it's going round and round. If you really perceive the energies, you almost perceive a form of stasis, where things are moving, but they're not moving. It's almost like a stalemate, where the various factions who know about these things and do not want us to know about these things have distorted everything. I mean, that's what, if John Lash was saying anything, he was saying that, well, religions are distorted truths. They're not absolute truths. Their relativistic truth is mixed in with a lot of manipulation. We know this. It's also mixed in with a lot of opinions of people who have no revelation whatsoever. It's mixed in with control dynamics. So what they don't want us to know is that they've promoted through the new age, you create your own reality, blah, 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 at a time when it was not feasible as much. It was very difficult to create your own reality up until 2012, up until the temporal convergence that Carl Kalaman didn't really understand, in my honest opinion. However, after 2012, how many have actually moved to try to create their own reality, or to establish a way to do so with the consistent effort they have done before? Because by then, most people, I've seen it in the cult forums. I mean, people would push magic, this, that, and the other, and they found that it didn't work well for them, so they gave up. And even if they didn't give up, they compromised and explained it in a lesser manner, and essentially they didn't have the passion because they experienced so many failures. However, what I'm noticing now in my observation around me, when they fucking curse somebody, that person gets it. really, really, including politicians. There was a scandal with a certain politician where I live now. She got into the big circles, and who knows what she did. And her husband kind of beat her up and asked for divorce. And everybody's like, the angry villagers are waving their torches and happy about this in some weird way. But I'm saying in the past, this wouldn't happen. We have been trained to slowly become dispassionate in terms of our reality creating potentials, because now is the time when they are becoming maximized. And now is the time when everybody out there in the media wants our allegiance, our psychological allegiance, whether it's based on fear or capitulation or belief or anything. So my sense is, wisdom is all about discernment. Discernment is all about feeling. Feel your way through it, meaning it doesn't have to make sense. You don't have to go write a thesis about it and tell your friends and convince them. You may want to do that for the sake of communication. However, everybody's paradigm is still rigid. And the subliminal reason for this in the collective, that we are still holding on to our old traditions so much and so defensive, is because we sense that somebody is trying to stick a new paradigm up our butts, and we do not accept it. But we don't know what to do. We're afraid to jump off the old train, the old rusty paradigm train that has been abusing us. So we're finding all the good things about it, which is nice, and we can take all those things with us. And we're afraid to jump onto a new train, because the new train, there's a bunch of other trains around, and they're all, commandeered by devils, or what seem like devils. So we need to choose our reality frame. We need to support it. It doesn't matter if it comes true or not immediately. That's not how it works. Because if you're always expecting it to come true, you're taking energy away from the manifesting. You're not committing to the reality because you're always expecting it to work for you, to happen. It's not happening, so fuck it. What's that? That's why I was talking about relationships last time. You're in a relationship, you really love somebody, you're really committed, and so you're going to understand that there's going to be challenges. You're going to face everything. And I said that last time. So now we can take this into the reality creation thing. Reality is your lover. That is the best way to perceive it. In my opinion, if you want to get metaphysical and spiritual, if you are a man, your reality is best, especially if you're, not heterosexual, because these are principles. These are polarity principles. So your reality is best addressed as female, feminine. If you are a woman, your reality is best addressed as masculine. So there is a kind of polarity connection. Now, if I am a female, for example, and I address the masculine polarity, I can either go pagan and go, oh, it's the earth god, the god Pan, the underworld god, whatever, or I can go spiritual and say it's the celestial god, the god of the heavens. It ain't gonna work unless you combine heaven and earth in your perception of reality, your perception. That's why the concept of hierarchy is very ambiguous for us, because we spatially organize it in terms of a pyramid pointing one way, when in reality it's a double-sided pyramid pointing two ways, an octahedron, where we are in the middle, the basis, and the two poles at the end. So if you're a woman, for example, I suggest your concept of God is male. I suggest you challenge this other direction of saying, oh, we're women, so we go with the goddess. You're already with the goddess. Your very cells are with the goddess. Your body is formed that way. You don't have to consciously affirm it. You just, you are it. All you have to do is experience yourself. But your reality, however, is your lover. So if your reality is your lover, then your reality is male. So the male God, as a union of the celestial God of Christianity, Islam, Judaism, whatever, and the pagan God below, who was called the devil, if you can combine those two, then you can also find your ideal man, because that kind of aspiration will reflect in your reality. You will also find your ideal experience, because you will be blessed by an integral conception of divinity instead of a fragmented one where one side is opposed to the other. So again, you can take advantage of your natural biology and approach spirituality through the body, and this is called integral gnosis. This is Gnostic. Gnosis is just wisdom. It's just the application of understanding. So when somebody says I'm Gnostic, it's like somebody saying I'm communist. You have 50 different people who have different, or I'm Protestant. I mean, how many forms of Protestant are there? Yeah, sure, they have something in common. I know something. I have knowledge. Well, a lot of people, the Illuminati, have knowledge too. Doesn't mean it's the truth. We call it gnosis. We don't call it aletheia, which is the word for truth. It's not truthism or truth. It's knowledge, which is actually perception, contact. You still have to evaluate. You still have to embody. You still have to absorb it, and you have to apply it. If you can't apply it in any way, even with yourself, then it's useless. So, integral gnosis of the up and the down. The important thing is, see, as you approach it that way, you can exercise your right to choose the reality you want. If you see bullshit, call bullshit. Don't worry about bashing anybody because it doesn't matter. You're busy establishing the truth that you know, your reality. Find your heart's desire. What turns you on emotionally? And then, even if it's well, I need material security. Fine. You don't need material excess. Downscale. Not so you can be a Spartan hermit or whatever, but downscale as much as is comfortable for you. That's what reality is forcing us to do right now. We're downscaling, but we're not focusing on our heart's desires. We're downscaling our lives, all of us, and now we have more attention available for other things. Other bastards are trying to take our attention away from what matters. That is, for me, that is the battle right now, if you want to call it that, to grasp our attention and focus it on what matters. Not fighting them, so to speak, because they're freaking out because we're not paying attention to them. You remember all of the things that people used to say about the emperor having no clothes. Well, all these people were threatening us, all of a sudden they're making a big deal and saying, well, look, Ebola, and this and that. And then they throw a little bit of fairy dust on our heads with the chemtrails and make us a little sick and saying Ebola's coming, or the terrorists are coming, and here they go, and they're all called Isis, the goddess of magic of Egypt. Muslims are using some, and they're really Turks. They're not even Arabs. So it's a mix with Al-Qaeda and I don't know what. Anyways, it's all a theater. And we know this. It's all a theater. So let's just say, fuck you, and I want to look at what matters. If you're a man, challenge your religious sensibilities. Even Muhammad used to bring up the goddess in the beginning, and then that stuff was basically taken out of the picture. There was a little bit of a goddess worship in Muhammad's way of doing things. But in any case, if you're a man, the goddess can be celestial, terrestrial, underworldly. Look at it that way. Again, figure it out if you're not heterosexual. You can feel your way through this and do it however you wish. But let your biology participate in your spiritual passion so it can ground and so we can accept creation and the transcendent and everything in a natural way. Because it's all about the balance point, which is the heart. And the heart is where desire centers. If you can find your heart's desire, be it a relationship, and some people might say, well, that's selfish. I thought about that, the world is burning and I'm thinking about relationship. No, because the love that you might generate in a relationship is going to affect the world. Because eventually, as you move through the challenges, you will find a place where you are more yourself. And you will find a place where you will expand your vision to express yourself through what that relationship has done for you and to you, and what you have done for it. It's all connected. And this is also inner work. So I'm saying that let's re-examine this you create your own reality thing, because, it may not be automatic, but there's an influence we have that others are trying to hijack. Obviously. I mean, we're under a massive marketing campaign. We are the subjects, the targets of a massive marketing, campaign. So, because the so-called cabal, and they come up with these terms, cabal, who came up with that, These are psychopaths. Again, that's a term, but I choose my terms. They may consider themselves elite, they may consider themselves cabal, or the mysterious or whatever. They're just a bunch of Madison Avenue types who are psychopathic and want our product. You have talked about our product many times. Human creativity, human attention, human potential. It's not just what we do with our hands. It's our attention and our energy. So if we look at them and discern, We are not giving our energy so long as we prioritize our heart's desire, no matter what it is. It will all come together, because the whole point now is to establish a timeline energy. This began, in my honest opinion, around 2011 when everything converged, but it takes time to really understand and perceive what's going on. What I'm seeing is that there are forces out there who do not want us to know how much in control, in an energetic and manifesting potential fashion, we really are. So this is a time when they cannot do anything, really, because they have their computers, they have their crystal balls, and they do not want to be eradicated, because that's going to be the outcome. They're going to be gone. We're going to be left, even with a reset, we're going to be left, without them. And this time we have enough experience to deal with it on the inside. We already have that karma resolved. We're just not allowed to do it on the outside. So they're standing in our way, and they know their time has come, and they're not going to give up, because it's up to us to alter and resonate the timeline dynamic. So if you've been you create your own reality guy in the end, or girl, and you lost faith in it, and if you're just promoting it, look at it deeper, because it's about the heart and the gut and the feelings. It's not about just up here, and it's also about being stubborn. If you really, let's put it in the romantic sense again. If you really want someone, you are going to be stubborn. If you really want something, you chase after it, and you open up to be sure that it's chasing after you as well. As I said, reality in its true form is our lover. God is our lover. Goddess is our lover. We are not children anymore. We have been upgraded. Our DNA is upgraded, and it's time to use it. So treat the environment and everything as your lover. In any way you can. Be sensual in a spiritual manner and spiritual in a sensual manner. It matters. It's a different attitude. And bust the paradigms by simply, using your emotions with them, venting. You can bash anything you want. It doesn't matter. You're not bashing people. You're bashing ideas. That's the problem. People mistake. They identify with ideas too much. We are not our ideas. So let them be bashed, because it doesn't matter what anybody else says. It's not going to create a persecution dynamic anymore, because people are instinctively already beginning to get it. It just hasn't been affirmed yet. It hasn't risen to the surface yet. That now we can try it again. Not even try. We can move to do it. Being and doing is the OPPT. Really connect emotionally with the reality you want. Not for the world, but at this point for yourself. Because at this point, things are changing gradually, and those who are in a minority right now need to slip through the cracks. There's a whole lot of crazy stuff going on. So it's okay to manifest your own well-being and your best possible potential in order to be able to resonate that inspiration as you slip through the cracks of all the crap the Matrix is trying to do. And as you do so, you will inspire others to slip through the cracks and create more cracks. And the Matrix is going to grow apart at the seams. And many, many people in high places are afraid of that, because they're not going to be the ones who put the replacement reality in. It's going to be the heart, the human heart. That is the new boss. If you want to put a hierarchy on it, the human heart, which is Christ consciousness, male and female, is going to be the new so-called ruler or sovereign. And the human heart is in every freaking body. It doesn't belong in some palace somewhere. It doesn't belong to a freaking bloodline. It doesn't even belong to a karmic bloodline or a karmic reincarnational zone. It's in everybody. And it's a wave of change that's happening. This wave begins with the defiance of the marketing campaigns. All of them. Get into them, listen to the information, absorb it, that's fine. But know that you are the writer of the story. Write the story. And write the story without preconceptions. And the only way to do that is to get into your own heart and say, look, if I really want to be happy, where do I want to start? How do I want to do things? How do I relate to my lover, reality? You're having a spat with your lover. You know they love you. You know you love them. But you had a falling out. You don't want to get a divorce. These idiots are like the neighbors butting in to put a wedge in between a couple and cause a divorce. And it's not going to happen. So I would recommend people to essentially consider that. Consider everything I've said and see where it goes. And consider it as a foundation for a new paradigm. Or more importantly, how to be able to build a paradigm you truly desire. That's what I wanted to say today.
Okay, Aristo, I got to say, this has got to be the worst audio I've ever heard.
Oh, really?
I hope people, I mean, you've said a lot of good things. I didn't get them all myself because there was distortion throughout.
Okay, okay. Well, I'll tell you what. Why don't you listen to the thing, and if it doesn't pass, you know, we can do it again some other day.
Yeah, well, we'll do the best we can. I'll put it up, but it may, you know, what you shared is worth sharing and worth hearing, but I feel that the quality is so bad that it may not. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see where it goes.
I can't hear you either right now. So I say trash it, you know, and we can do it again sometime. That's no problem. Maybe you can put it up informally. I don't know. Just say this is, you know, we will repeat the information on this video. I don't know, something like that.
Okay. Well, we'll do the best we can.
I believe it's an important topic. And,
yeah, it is. I agree with you completely.
You know, I'll get back to it. It's a sometimes it takes a little time for the energy to break through, and I don't like this position either. The lighting bothers me, and so tomorrow I have an appointment. But the day after tomorrow, if you're open, you know, we can do this again, and I'll come earlier.
Well, we'll see. I have some things planned with the ambassador and possibly some others coming up. So let's see how things
Okay.
Well, thank you. Namaste.
Namaste.